It's always daunting to do a real person or a historical figure, and especially someone who is so revered like Betty Ford, and I actually did not know all that much about her, other than, of course, I knew about her substance abuse issues, and I knew about the Betty Ford Clinic, which is an incredible accomplishment. But there was also so much more to her, and as I got into the research, and fortunately, you just look for anything. She gave a lot of speeches, she did a lot of interviews. She wrote books, there were books about her. I didn't really want for information. And then of course I worked with the dialogue coach, and then of course there's the makeup and hair people and the costumes who bring so much to it. My experience about being sort of thrust into the public eye, and you don't really know what you're getting yourself into, and then you're there, and it's very overwhelming. And for me, I grew up in the public eye. I learned how to act in the public eye, and for Betty, her learning curve was also incredibly steep, because suddenly becoming the first lady within a year, and not expecting it, not having your husband actually run for office, was, I think, a lot for her to get used to. Well, for me, it's always important to get it all right. And it was very important for me to get her story as right as I could. Of course, a lot of it is fictionalized because one never really knows what goes on behind closed doors. And, it was very important. The addiction and the recovery was, I know, as most of us do, we know someone in our lives who has struggled with addiction, who has maybe gone through treatment, has perhaps been a part of an intervention. And I felt I was very nervous about getting that right, and not sensationalizing everything. And in the same way, in the way that we treated breast cancer, you don't want to you don't want to, again, sensationalize it, but you do want to, you don't want to hold back either. Dancing with a martini shaker doesn't take a lot of talent. It just takes a lot of guts, I think, and a director who was enjoying it so much that I don't know. I think I must have done 40 takes of that dancing with the martini shaker. Yeah, and the dancing with Jerry, that sort of more kind of ballroom dancing, we worked with someone, a choreographer on that. Christine and I spoke on the phone early on. She was the first person to start, really, and Betty's story was the first story. This was shot in 3 different chunks. It was shot in kind of 3 little movies, and then in the editing room they wove it together. But we talked a lot about. We worked with the same dialect coach. We talked a lot about her speech, about her history. We talked a lot about the script, because the script was still being developed as it continued all along the way. And then once we started shooting, that was kind of it. We were really, for all of us, because there was really no time to do anything else. I was so excited to, you know, be in something. I mean, I would say work with them, but we really didn't work together. And I admire them both so much, and it's it's such an honor to have, to be asked to be a part of this project. And it was shot in Georgia, and I don't live in Georgia, so I was home and I was doing other things while they were shooting. So no, I didn't. So it was really fun for me, and I didn't read actually their parts. They really just sent us our parts, and so watching the show, I've been able to enjoy it and discover it like the public, and it's extraordinary. They're both so extraordinary, and it's so beautifully directed, and it's by Suzanne Bear, and it's so beautifully woven together, and it looks amazing. It's really it was a tremendous amount of work, and really under budgeted and really under scheduled. It was a massive amount of work, and I'm very, very proud of how it turned out. But it was really a very female-driven piece about driven women, and it really is more about the female relationships, and watching these three women and with two of them not necessarily welcome the idea of being thrust into the White House, and watching them manage that and find their voices, and then learn how to nurture those voices and how to use their platform then to really encourage other women to use their voices in the same way. And it's and I think the relationships with the daughters are also very, very strong in all of these three stories. Well, I think that she is, first of all, she was one of our most popular first ladies ever, and people loved that she just spoke the truth, and she talked about every taboo subject matter of the time, and if it's because of her that she saved hundreds of thousands of women's lives, because she was so honest and open about her own breast cancer, and she saved hundreds and thousands, millions of people's lives because she was so open and honest about her struggles with addiction. Of course, founding the Betty Ford Clinic. She was, she supported the gay community. She fought for the Equal Rights Amendment ratification. I mean, she was the worst Republican. I mean, she was, a pro-choice Republican first lady who took on women's rights issues and just stirred up all kinds of trouble. And she did it in such a kind of innocent way. She had these Midwestern values, and she just felt like it was her duty to speak her truth and to really stand up for people who didn't necessarily have a voice. It's quite a legacy.